It's
Hello.
Friday once again, and you are here with Living the Abundant Life with Therapist Tori. How are you doing, Therapist Tori, this evening?
I'm good. It's a long weekend, well deserved long weekend. So, yes, July 4th. So, I'm sure it's a lot of cookouts and family reunions. Oh, and Essence Festival. So, yeah,
Oh, snap. You
I'm
attending
not
that?
going.
Oh,
I'm not
that's
going,
safe.
but but for everybody else that is going, I'm sure they will have an awesome time. Essence is a wonderful time. Have you
Okay.
been to Essence Festival?
If I'm correct, they have one periodically in Tampa, and I never had the opportunity to go, but I've heard
No,
it's like,
no. I'm talking about Essence in New Orleans.
ooh, no, I haven't been there either.
Oh, you gotta go. You got to go. That's
That's,
something
that's
that every black person needs to experience. Essence Festival.
okay. I'm not opposed to that at all. Shoot, that sounds cool. So, another new day. What is the topic for tonight?
Well, I thought we'd talk a little bit about boundaries.
Mm.
Boundaries in relationships. Well, boundaries in all relationships. I think it's a good topic. I think it's something that people struggle with from time to time. So yeah, that's what we're
Understood.
we're going to talk about tonight. Um, so I don't know. You want to kick it off with questions, or how
I
you
will.
want to?
I will. Forgive me for leaving you hanging. I will. Let's first give an explanation of what a boundary is so that everybody knows.
Well, that's a good idea. I guess I don't have the textbook definition for boundaries, but a boundary is different than a barrier. Hey,
Okay.
people. Hey, so a boundary is, I would say, something healthy in a relationship. Like, if there's something that is triggering for you emotionally, I think it's important to let your loved ones know, like, this is triggering and this is why.
Mhm.
So, sort of identifying and explaining what's at stake. Um, for instance, if I'm trying to think of a good example of a boundary, if your boundary is, I am not a morning person and I don't want you blasting music in the morning, that I mean, that's something simple, right? But it's a boundary, especially if it's something that bothers you, right?
Okay.
And it's important to let someone know, because if they don't know, it might be something that they continue to do. So, um, boundary could be a lot of things. You know, for instance, in a relationship, if it's important for you to have time to yourself, you
Okay.
know, like, say you come home from work and you need like 20 minutes to, sort of chill out and gather yourself and relax, and maybe your, spouse or partner, wants to immediately talk to you as soon as you walk in the door, then that would be a boundary. Like, hey, I'm just asking, I know you want to talk, but I'm just asking that you give me like 15 minutes to chill out, and then, then we can have this conversation. But I'm just asking for a little bit of time. That would be an example of a boundary.
Gotcha. And out to the audience as we're dialoguing, if you have a question or a comment, please feel free to go ahead and type it in the chat. Um, So, in your opinion, should children create boundaries, or is this something that they should avoid boundaries?
You said children.
Yes, in your opinion.
Do children create boundaries?
It was a should, but I guess in this case it would be more of a do. They create boundaries.
Yeah. I mean, I think they can. Yeah. Um, I mean, now that could also be like a cultural question because during the time I was raising my kids, it was you don't go in your room and lock the door. Like,
Right.
I don't know if that's a good one. Yeah, now, yeah, you can you can ask for time and space to yourself.
Hmm.
Um, but I'll say it wasn't that my kids couldn't go in their room and lock the door, but if they had company over, like,
Right.
no, you and your company are not going to be behind closed locked doors. Like, no. Um, but yeah, if you can, you could teach your kids that it's okay to ask for time, space, if they, because I know some people don't like for their kids to be angry, but sometimes they're going to get angry and they need to learn how to kind of decompress for themselves. So, yeah, children can create boundaries.
Okay. Because the funny thing is it was probably a misunderstanding in my aspect of boundaries. So I'm glad that you defined it. Because in a situation is I'm thinking more of a boundary as a safeguard, if you will. Like even though um, a kid may create boundaries of what type of people to be around, or people who are nice to me, et cetera, et cetera. I was figuring these were boundaries that they did as I said, a defense mechanism. So let's say if parents cross boundaries that a kid had set, and us parents have the "my house, my rules" kind of clause that's been in effect since you've been born, type of thing.
Yeah. Hmm.
In a situation like that, how can we build a bridge rather than burn a bridge when a boundary is set?
Well, I mean, I think sometimes we have to understand that boundaries are not always accepted or well received.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just to give you, like a personal example, I remember,
Right.
after my divorce and, me and my ex-husband were living in separate households. And I remember how fearful I was about setting boundaries. Um, there was a situation at the time I was dating, and so the person that I was dating was at my house, and some close friends were also at my house. And I think my ex-husband came to visit with the kids or came to pick up the kids, or I think he was visiting with the kids or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so the garage door happened to be open, and my good friend, she was out there. I think they were preparing to leave. I can't remember, but she was putting stuff in the car, and the garage door is open. So of course, my ex-husband knows my good friend, and was talking and chatting, and which is perfectly fine, perfectly normal. He came into the house through the garage, and obviously, met the person that I was dating, and everybody said their hellos. And then he said, well, I'm going to go upstairs and hang out with the kids. I was like, okay. And
Mm-hmm.
so, at the time, so I think they were sitting there, you know, my friend's husband and the person I was dating, they were sitting there watching football or something. So he kind of looks at me like, are you going to say something or do you want me to say something? Which one is it going to be? And I said, well, okay, I'll say something. And I just remember that that made me very, very nervous and anxious because, I don't like conflict. And so, bottom line, what I did is went upstairs and asked him, can I have a word with you? And, we stepped outside. And so he was supposed to be picking the kids up, not staying and hanging out. Okay. So I said, it was an uncomfortable situation for both of us. And I said, I don't really feel comfortable with you staying here hanging out with the kids. I said, it's cool if you pick them up and take them somewhere to hang out. That's fine. But, it's just kind of uncomfortable if you stay here and hang out. And so I remember, having that conversation and how anxious it made me feel. But the thing was that it was important for me to set that boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I shared with him was like, I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not going to just show up at your house and say, hey, I'm here to kick it with the kids. No, I'm not going to do that. So sometimes it's just an issue of like saying, hey, let's it might not be a boundary for you, but it's a boundary for me. And so let's respect that, you know. And granted, different people have different perspectives, and which is fine and good. But, if it's something that is making you feel uncomfortable and you know that this is not something that you want to continue to happen, then it's important to say something and it's important to express that.
Wow. Got to give you props for sharing something like that. Miss Carla says, "Oh, I can even tell it's making you uncomfortable even now." Hey, I get it. We do have a question from this lady. She did say, "How do you set boundaries without making the other feel rejected?"
Well, I would say sometimes it can't be avoided because, sometimes we can't control how other people are going to feel about you setting that boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and honestly, especially for people like myself who don't really like conflict, I mean, from time to time, you might try to dance around it or go around it or not address it.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is, this is something that, again, is going to continue to bother you if it's something that you don't address. So, I would say in a lot of situations or some situations, you can't really worry about how the other person is going to take it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's just communicating as best you know how and being able to say, listen, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to do anything towards you, but I have to share with you how this is making me feel, you
Right.
know, and that's the important part. And again, there's no guarantee that they are going to take it well, but it's still something that needs to be said, you know. But I would just say, continuing to maintain those I statements, and not saying, well, you're doing this or you're making me feel this way, or, it's not, when you say I, that takes some of the sting out of what's being said.
Understood. Hmm. Okay. So let me ask you this: Is there a case of too many boundaries, like a couple each have their own boundaries and they come together, form a big
Mhm.
boundaries party? Can that be a
A boundaries party. Okay.
could that be a deal breaker?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because I do think that's an issue too. Sometimes we can have too many boundaries. If you got so many boundaries around you and I can't get to you, yeah, that's a problem. Yeah.
Mm,
I mean, yeah, sometimes you can have too many boundaries if you're so worried about, protecting yourself or protecting your feelings or,
mm,
and it's just boundary after boundary after boundary after boundary, then, okay, do you really want a relationship? I mean, if you got that many hurdles I got to cross to get to you, is that what you really want? Maybe that's not what you really want,
mm.
you know?
Point. That's crazy.
So, and, there are situations where people, because of what they've experienced in the past, avoid, they might totally separate themselves from a relationship or even a dating relationship because there's something that they see that they think could potentially be problematic later on. Like, it's not necessarily a problem now, but because I'm so fearful that this could become a problem, then I'm going to avoid relationship altogether.
Yeah.
So
Heard
that might be, an indication that there's too many boundaries.
that. Okay. So, how do you get people to respect your boundaries? This is the main thing of speaking up, I'm sure, but you gotta walk out and be bold in what you believe, right?
Well, yeah, sometimes, you might have to be willing to walk away. If you've expressed something, many, many times and you're saying the same thing over and over and over and over again, it's the same situation over and over and over again, then it very well may be a situation where I need to walk away from this because I've let you know many times that this is a boundary for me and I've asked you not to do it and yet you keep doing it. So, if your boundaries are not being respected and this is something that you've talked about many times and there's no change in behavior, there's no resolve, there's no real understanding, then sometimes I got to be willing to walk away.
You gotta want it that bad enough to say no more.
Yeah. I mean, if you're saying that you want peace
Yeah, you gotta fight for it.
and there are certain, actions and behaviors that is affecting your peace, I mean, yeah.
Miss Lena says, "Good advice, therapist Tori."
Thank you, Lena.
Now, this is what's new to me. A boundary would be a trigger. Is that correct?
Um, I would say yes and no. I mean, I don't think in all cases or all situations
Mm-hmm.
that is true. I don't think it's always a trigger.
Mm-hmm. Because boundaries is what like the line. Would that be basically your boundary? What your line stance is in something?
Yeah. Yeah, it can be. You know, let's let's take a work situation, right?
Sure.
Um, maybe somebody at work, and maybe not during COVID, I don't know, but somebody at work is like every morning. Well, I can use a real example. So I used to, well, I ain't gonna say where I work, but I work for a state government, and so I lived the life of the great cubicles, and So my cubicle, so my chair was facing in towards the inside of the cubicle. So when my boss would come talk to me in the morning, he would just come up behind me and start talking. Like no good morning, no, no greeting whatsoever, just, come in and blah 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 behind me,
Right.
and so I was like, so eventually I asked him, I said, "Hey, can you say something when you come in my cubicle so that I know that you're walking up behind me?" Now, again, that was my thing, right? Now, maybe somebody else it wouldn't bother them, right? But for me, that bothered me because you know I was just taught like you don't let somebody walk behind you. I mean, for the for the few years that we lived in New York, my dad would always say, "You need to be careful about people walking up behind you."
Right.
And so that's something that just had kind of stuck in my brain. And so for somebody just come in and start talking and they're right behind me, it just made me uncomfortable. I didn't like it, you know. So it could be something as simple as that. Um, or it can be something maybe a little more emotionally complex, like, you know, um, I've talked to several people who are married or in committed relationships, and they don't feel like they can have any time outside of the relationship. Like they don't feel comfortable like going to hang out with friends
Mhm.
or just doing something for themselves, because if they do, they feel like, well, my spouse or partner is going to complain about that because it's not something that they are involved in.
Mhm.
And I've been asked, well, is it, like, is it okay for me to do something on my own or by myself? And I'm like, absolutely. Like, there's nothing wrong with me time. There's nothing wrong with you having time for yourself. And, I mean, as best you can, you need to explain that, to your spouse, your partner, hey, no, I'm not, this isn't about you, it's about me and it's about what I need. I just need time and space just to breathe my own air,
Man.
not trying to exclude you from anything, you know. Um and in relationships sometimes we what they call the dance of distance, you know. I mean, some relationships, because of attachment issues, people are uncomfortable with having space or distance, like it's like if it, so it's hard to kind of explain. I'm explaining the best way I know how, but it's like I might be comfortable with this amount of, not literally, but this amount of space. But if you get this far away or you start doing too many things on your own, that makes me uncomfortable. That
Mhm.
make my the feelings of insecurity become triggered when you get too far away. And so sometimes we have to deal with this dance of distance in a relationship. And so sometimes that is something that you have to ask for, not asking for permission, but ask for in terms of, this is something that we need to talk about, this is something that we need to discuss, and I need to share with you that this is something that I need.
Mhm.
It's not about me being away from you. It's
Right.
just what I need.
Been there,
And for
still
some
doing.
couples, huh? What'd you
Been
say?
there, still doing that.
Hmm.
This the old dance, but it is what it is. I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you.
That's okay.
You
So
know,
what about you, Troy? Have you ever dealt with that? Ever dealt with any
well,
boundary issues?
definitely the distance dance, but I know a lot of it because of her being disabled. She likes to, because everything's out of control for her. She likes to have some sense of control.
Yeah.
and I guess I'm the closest object to grab to try to control. So when that isn't always the case, then she makes what I feel. She makes everyone miserable because of it, because she's not having a sense of control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There came a time that I allowed that form of manipulation, if you will, to take advantage of me. And it affected everything from the way I thought to overall health and well being. And then
Mm-hmm.
came a point in me, I was like, I'm done. I just can't handle this kind of manipulation anymore. And, you know, enough was enough. So started working out for myself and started actually several businesses since that decision, and just had a very motivated, I'm going to do something in life type of attitude, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And overall, it makes me feel better about myself. And that was one of the things I wasn't feeling so great about myself. So, been there, done that, as I said.
Okay. All right. All right.
There was an old added saying that said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. Would that be a statement based on someone not creating boundaries?
Oh yeah. I mean, people that don't have boundaries, I mean, are the most anxious people in the world. And they don't even feel like they can set boundaries. You know,
Mm,
like they don't feel capable of setting boundaries. Like it's such a foreign idea and concept. They don't feel like, I'm not saying this applies to everybody, but they don't feel like they can actually do it, you know. So, in therapy, providing that confidence to say, yes, you can. It's normal. It's normal to have boundaries. Like you can ask that people respect your boundaries. This is something that you can establish for yourself. Um, so just taking the fear out of it, because a lot of times people are like, oh, well, if I do that, then this is going to happen, and 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 this is going to happen. It's like, how do you know that?
right.
How do you know all that? Like, you got a crystal ball? Where did you get it from? Let me know, because I'm going to go buy one. So
Mhm.
I can figure out what's going to happen in the future, too.
You know what I'm
Not
saying?
really. I really don't want to know. I'm going to wait and find out. But But, I mean, it's like people feel like, and again, it's that old narrative that comes up like, you're not good enough. You can't do it. You hear people talk about all the time imposter syndrome. Um, if somebody's going to find out that I'm stupid or crazy or I don't deserve this, and it's like, no, none of that is going to happen.
Mm,
It's happening in your head, but it's not happening in reality.
right.
Like, you can do this. It's okay. It's okay. You know, so um, so in therapy, a lot of it is just dispelling these old myths and old narratives that exist in your head that says that you can't do it. And a lot of that comes from growing up in families where you weren't encouraged. You were told repeatedly of what you couldn't do,
Mhm.
what you couldn't accomplish. You just like your daddy, you just like your mama, who ain't no good. And, I mean, and after a while, unconsciously, you start to believe that stuff.
Right. Mm,
So, getting rid of the fear behind that, like fear, false evidence appearing real. It's not real. We can make it real. I mean, if we perpetuate it, we can make it real. You know.
yes, ma'am.
So,
Indeed. So we are past our half mark. We're going to take this time to bring in our blast artist of this week, or should I say for the night. It is Miss Angie Monroe, and this is Where You Are. Let's check it out.
all right.
Mm, 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 mm. Table for two is what she said. As I sat down, had you all in my head. I apologize 1,000 times, please. I even fell to my knees. I called you, but you never showed. I couldn't believe you stood me up. My heart skipped a beat and I cried. Because I love you so much, I wanna be where you are. Where you are. You're the driver, I wanna be the car. If you're the sky, wanna be a star. I'll travel the world, near or far. Wanna be wherever you are. Never knew a love like this before. Got me doing things I never said I would. You were my very first love. I'd move heaven and earth if I could. I wanna be where you are. Where you are. If you're the driver, I wanna be the car. If you're the sky, wanna be a star. I'll travel the world, near or far. Gotta be wherever you are. Don't leave me, I don't know what to do. I've wasted half of my life. You even promised to make me your wife. You're the wind beneath my wings. I'm addicted to your love like a dope fiend. So tell me, where are you, baby? Please, please. 'Cause I wanna be where you are. If you're the driver, I wanna be the car. If you're the sky, wanna be a star. I'll travel the world, near or far. Gotta be wherever you are. You are. Ooh,
And that again was Miss Angie Monroe with Where You Are, produced by our boy Soul Res Music, which is D Ray. D Ray
Oh,
Production.
nice, nice. I like it.
Yes,
Very
indeed.
nice.
Indeed. So, if any of you are an artist or even an upcoming comedian and would like to gain exposure, go ahead and go to blastmusic247.com and register as an artist for free and become a part of the party, if you will. That's blastmusic247.com. Changing the industry one artist at a time. Alrighty, alrighty. So, if any of you in the comments have any questions, please feel free to ask. The episode for Carla says this episode is for me, and even it says me too. So you're definitely giving some encouragement, Miss Torres. So we appreciate you
Good, good.
this topic. Um, I was I remember while the time you were talking, and I just remember that time of where I just had to decide for myself to start doing for me. And even though someone who's disabled, I'm not the only one that helps her. You know what I'm saying? I'm just the
Right.
initial target, I should say. because I'm there.
Right.
And after what can be done for her, she's good. But what about me? And I've been neglecting myself badly. Got overweight, and then no no kind of confidence and everything. So it took me
And
about.
bad dad shoes. Yeah.
I'll have you know, those shoes take care of my feet. Thank you very much. May not be for looks,
You
but
know, I always got to find a way to mess with you.
apparently. but but it took me about 4 years to actually gain my bearings, because I understand the fact that I'm an enabler, and that is something that I have to kind of wean out in time, because
Mhm.
a people pleaser, you know, and
Yeah,
just
I can tell. I can tell.
trying to do what's right and help
Mm.
everybody. So getting COVID opened a lot of eyes to myself too. That helped me see how much of I pour out versus what I get back. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, just because, I'm a professional, I mean, dealing with boundaries because you're in the people business is always a thing. And and there's no perfection to it, right?
mhm,
But there's a lot of situations, well, not a lot, but some situations that come up where, you have to redefine the boundary or reiterate this is a boundary, so it happens on a personal level and professional level. I think I was venting to you the other night how I felt like my boundaries as a professional was being violated because, I have to, it's very important for me to respect other people's time,
right.
but in on that same token, it's important for other people to respect my time. And so, I had a client who this is probably the second or third time where they completely disrespected my time. And, it's like I'm earmarking and setting aside time to meet. I mean, and, this is something that we do every week at a certain time. And, just totally disregarded that. And it was like, oh, yeah, I was doing this, this, and this, and decided to show up to the session 35 minutes late.
Hmm.
And it's like, I'm leaving. I'm not I'm not staying. I mean, we were supposed to meet 35 minutes ago, Now, and so even with me trying to redefine the boundary, like they just kept on going. And it's like, okay, I'm walking out now. We will we, we will set up another time, but tonight ain't gonna be that time, you know.
My
And
goodness.
so sometimes people, that's and in all honesty, that's sometimes what people deal with is, not just their boundaries being violated, but them violating other people's boundaries, and it's like one thing that constantly comes up is empathy, 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 empathy. You have to, in relationship and in communication, you got to remember empathy.
Hmm.
I can't just understand my own perspective. I need to understand where the other person is coming from, what their position is, and how they might be feeling.
Hmm.
If I can say it's important for me, then I have to say it's important for other people as well. So
I mean, trying to bring out empathy when you're pissed is not easy.
no. And sometimes I'm like, like the movie Get Out, sometimes I'm just like, I got to get out of here before I say something messed up, like I
I
got
bet.
to leave. I got to get out of here.
Oh boy.
You got to go. because
As
this is
professionalism,
about to go all the way wrong. So
professionalism will be out the door at that. You'll be like,
it does get challenged from time to time.
you and your issues need to go to the parking lot and get the heck out of here. So,
Yeah, I mean, I truly, I love people. I try to be very, very patient, but I'm telling you, patience gets tested, and I'm just like, okay, Lord, help me, because I'm falling.
mhm,
Help me out. I need to get out of here. So,
I hear you. So let me ask you this: does most religions create boundaries for individuals?
yeah, I think so.
We know
And
Christianity.
and no matter in one thing sometimes that we don't really think about or talk about very much, any situation, scenario, including church and religion, can violate boundaries.
Mm,
You know, um, and I've taught, and I'm a spiritual person. I definitely am a Christian. However, I understand, like, in some situations, churches have overstepped boundaries as it relates to individuals. And, I mean, and that, we can go off on a whole nother tangent with that, because, sometimes that gets into cult like behavior with different organizations. Um, that feel that they should be able to make decisions about your personal life, you know.
yeah. Hmm.
And no matter who we all come face to face with our God, you know what I'm saying? And we need to be making definitive decisions about who we are as spiritual beings. So, um, but yeah, that's a thing, and I'm not going to chase that rabbit tonight, but that's something we can definitely dig a little bit deeper into in future shows. So
We'll definitely keep that in mind. Okay, let's see here. Um, would you feel that men need to create boundaries just as much as women should?
yeah, I mean, I think it's something that applies to all people. um yeah, I mean, men, women, everybody, has an opportunity to create healthy boundaries for themselves.
Mm.
Um, but are you thinking about anything in particular as it relates to men, or?
No, just more or less. Just more or less should. I guess it's about equal in regards to creating boundaries. It's probably genderless. You should just create boundaries for yourself to healthy boundaries for yourself to as you go through life. So
Yeah,
it doesn't really
and
matter.
and I don't think about it in such a way that, like, it's not like I need to sit down and let me come up with a list of boundaries that I create. I mean, boundaries, can be created off of, not that I want people to focus on the past, but if
Mhm.
there are certain situations in which, that consistently make you feel uncomfortable, and you feel like, well, there are situations in which you're not standing up for yourself and stating how you feel, then
Mhm.
that is an indication that you need to that you need to, identify that as a boundary, you know, and not only identify it as a boundary, but be willing to have a discussion or a conversation about it, so that you can let that person know what the boundary is.
Okay.
Because how is it a boundary if I don't tell nobody?
True.
If I'm not communicating that to anybody, then it's not a boundary. I'm just sitting up getting irritated,
Right.
and nobody knows what I'm irritated about, So
Violating your boundary. Yeah, that's
yeah,
hilarious. Sidebar.
yeah,
Um, spoke with my mom recently, and
okay.
she's doing really well. She sounds like herself again,
Oh,
and
okay, awesome.
that's a positive because it was about 2 weeks of not knowing where the heck this was going to turn out. But
Uh-huh.
she's back home and apparently has been getting her rest and taking her meds. So thank God.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, awesome, awesome. Thank you for letting me know. I mean, I appreciate that, but that's awesome. I'm glad that she's feeling better.
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to share with you because you were pivotal to help me with my situation there. Because
Yeah, you're getting a lot of free counseling. I'm gonna send you a bill.
hey, I'm just taking advantage of the things in front of me here. No, no, I do appreciate that. As a matter of fact, the whole Blast Nation's been very supportive. So thank you very much, guys. I just wanted to let you know she's doing good and she didn't get hurt through all the craziness.
Yeah,
Manic depression is all. Oof. It is a weird thing how the mind works, but I thank God she's doing good and she's seems like she's back to her old self. And
yeah. Well, that's awesome.
because
Tell her I said hello. I don't know if she remember me, but
she probably would. I don't know. You're right. I'll let her know. Um, you said what's up, definitely.
okay. All right, cool.
Um, shoot, I don't know what else we may have to say. I know this is early, but we've said a lot within this time. How about any small thoughts you may have you wish to share?
No, not specifically. I mean, you know, I think that, this is sort of we've been talking about it in a as a broad concept. And, maybe at a later time, we'll get a little bit more specific as to how that shows up in our romantic relationships, our work relationships, our friend relationships, our family relationships. I mean, today we kind of did some broad strokes, which is good. But you know, as time goes on and future shows, we'll kind of talk about it in a little bit more detail. Um, so
Like,
that's
I'm
huh?
sorry. I was just thinking I would love, and I'm sure everyone else would. I really feel that everyone should have the opportunity to be transparent. And
Hmm.
what I mean by that is being able to not hold everything and feel so stressed because of holding everything. Now, granted, the good book does say don't cast your pearls among swine, which basically is if you know someone got a loose lips and they can't keep anything to themselves, then that is
Hmm.
definitely a person to share with.
Right.
But if you find someone that not only trustworthy but has your back, you know what I'm saying, and you
Hmm.
you need to pour your soul to, then that's somebody to look forward to, I assume. But I'd love those things because I have friends that I can just be who I am to them and not have a hesitation on that or any scent of judgment. And,
Hmm.
and these times and days now, you need to have people that got your back.
Well, I mean, that's how I feel about my sister, and I'm so thankful. I mean, I'm not saying it's just her, but
Mhm.
she's very much a primary person in my life who I feel like I could say literally anything, like anything,
Mhm.
and there is no judgment. There is no, you crazy or anything. Now we might say that we crazy, but we don't mean you crazy. But 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 yeah, I mean you need somebody or some bodies in your life where you can be completely 100 with, and there's no judgment being cast, and I feel comfortable and secure enough within myself that I can share and you can share with me. We're human. We're human
Right.
beings. Why can't we do that? And if you are in a situation where you feel like you can't be transparent with somebody, then that's something that I would kind of check out and investigate a little bit more, because it's like, why is that the case?
Mm.
There must be something, or maybe there's a lack of trust, or there's an element of insecurity in the dynamic of that relationship. So
I agree.
something to consider. Yeah.
I agree. So I know what we will have a lot of amazing topics upcoming. Um, if I may sidebar for other people that don't know, we also do have another podcast that's coming up, which is called Party and Purpose, and it is starring Miss
No, I'm just kidding.
and another dear friend of ours, Miss Lady. What has that experience been for you?
It's been amazing. It really is amazing. I mean, I'm excited about this podcast. I mean, obviously, this is definitely more professional mental health scope, with this show. But Party and Purpose has been amazing. I think it's a great outlet. It's sort of our version of The Voice, and just overall letting people know that they can let loose and talk and have a good time and have fun. I mean, at the same time, we're talking about something significant and important all at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think that's the great thing about the show. I mean, I absolutely love the Blast family. I mean, we have had a great vibe with everybody, every single person.
Indeed.
And to me, that just lets me know we're all on the right track. And this is awesome and great. And I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity that you have given me and given us. And, I definitely know that this is something that's going to grow and prosper. So,
We believe it. Um,
yes,
I like to tell people about party and purpose. I call it it's grown folk talk. And
yes, uh-huh,
it's us actually able to talk about things that are not taboo, but if you would, kind of forbidden. But it's life.
mm-hmm,
People are actually going through some of the challenges that we talk about, and I'm looking forward to the future and some of the topics we bring. So it's going to be exciting stuff.
yeah.
Well, Miss Therapist Tori, I'm gonna wrap it up for us, and we'll do this again next Friday. Do you have anything to say before we head out?
Happy July 4th. That's it.
Well, look, guys, you guys please be safe. Have a wonderful 4th of July, a safe 4th of July, and come check us back next Friday. We will see you. Have a good night.
Good
See-
night.
I hit the wrong one. Here we go.